Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of the new Morrissey record, World Peace is None of Your Business. Morrissey, singer, songwriter, infamous frontman of the Smiths, and solo artist. I think it's pretty safe to say that without Morrissey and without the Smiths, alternative rock and jangle pop wouldn't quite be the same. With records like The Queen is Dead, Me is Murder, Strange Ways, Viva Hate. If you haven't heard any of these records, I would say take this review as an opportunity or an invitation to go take a moment and check those records out. Because to me, this new record from Morrissey is not really up to snuff. But quality-wise, in line enough with his most recent releases to the point where anybody who's been following Morrissey up until this point will not be just devastatingly disappointed by what happens on this record. Personally, I don't really have that intimate of a relationship with Morrissey's solo discography outside of some of his bigger, earlier releases. And because of records like World Peace is None of Your Business, it's probably going to stay that way. The instrumentals on this record, track for track for track, are way too stiff, too flabby, too winded to do anything that's legitimately exciting or display any real kind of finesse, especially as some of the guitars and drums are clumsily reenacting music of a Spanish origin, but the end result just feels watered down to the highest degree. The whole record thinks it's way more moving and convincing than it actually is. And again, those are just the instruments. Vocally, I think this album lacks as well. These days, at this stage in his career, listening to Morrissey is like listening to Frank Sinatra with no charm, no swagger. I think over time, Morrissey has just slowly become a crooner with no charisma. There are a few songs on here, namely Staircase at the University, where Morrissey really shows off his pop sensibilities, and these songs go over well. Not only do we get good chord progressions, good melodies, but the instrumentation feels a little more upbeat and peppy too. But outside of these more accessible songs, this record is just kind of an opportunity for Morrissey to throw himself on top of a philosophical pedestal and look down his nose at the unwashed masses who he has supremely exceeded in terms of mental capabilities. Seems all the filthy, dirty people down there just can't figure out why there's all this war and poverty and injustice around. But thank God we have Morrissey here to tell us, world peace is none of your business. I'm completely, 100%, wholeheartedly all for alarm when it comes to a justified and positive cause. Morrissey, for the most part, has always been pretty upfront with his ideals in his songs, what he thinks about the world at large. And ideologically, there are some things I agree with him on, namely animal rights and religion, I'm sure. But in my opinion, I think a lot of the time Morrissey presents his ideas in a way that is kind of obnoxious and insulting to listeners, even listeners who may agree with what he's saying. Even as somebody who doesn't enjoy bullfighting, I had a hard time enjoying the song Bullfighter Dies, namely because even if you agree with the ideology of a track, if it is created in bitterness, it tastes bitter to everyone. There are tracks on here like Not a Man, where it seems like Morrissey isn't even really concerned with whatever melody he's singing. He just wants to get these lyrics out that seem to just be tearing him up inside. He just has these proclamations that he is dying to make. I would never destroy this planet. On the title track, he sort of repeats this mantra over and over and over that voting just supports the process of all this injustice, all this oppression. And, you know, I completely believe in your right to believe that and defend your argument if you actually have some interesting and thought-provoking points. But to just kind of put something so blatantly arguable out there just kind of seems to me like lazy lyric writing. I don't know. I mean, There are countries all across the world, first world countries, where, especially in America, where the are low. And these days, some of them, in some states, especially local elections, they are historically low. And I can't really say that we're more free because of it. When it comes to government oppression and government corruption, there's a lot more to its existence than people voting. Then there's the song Earth is the Loneliest Planet, where Morrissey essentially comes off completely disillusioned with the human race, the future of the human race, the future of the world. And I completely sympathize. I mean, I think anybody who ponders or is an introspective person has these kinds of thoughts. However, there's not really anything in this song, in this record as a whole, that leads me to believe that Morrissey comes to this conclusion from a place of enlightenment. To me, Morrissey presents a lot of his political philosophy across this track with just unbridled pretension, with not even a note of humor or a poignant idea or anything even close to a solution. Maybe if you're a hardcore fan, you're living and dying by Morrissey, you have a Morrissey face tattoo, I can see you enjoying what this record has to offer, because what you care about is Morrissey, and for sure, he lays a lot of his ideas and a lot of his emotions on the line with this record. He puts it out there, it's straightforward, it's for all to see, or rather, hear. But coming from the standpoint of someone who doesn't have that kind of personal or emotional connection to Morrissey just because he's Morrissey, I find that the songs on here that do have strong pop sensibilities, those are good. But outside of that, I'm getting a lot of instrumental fodder, which is completely underwhelming, and thrown on top of it are these really stale, bitter, political and philosophical musings that to me are kind of self-serving. As somebody who might agree with some of Morrissey's points, I don't really get anything out of hearing him state them, and what he brings to the table on this record, as far as his lyrics, don't really strike me as something that would turn around somebody who might disagree with him. I'm feeling a strong 4 to a light 5 on this LP. Transition. If you've given this record a listen, what did you think of it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Why? What do you think I should review next? And that's it. Anthony Fantano, Morrissey Von Morrissey Man, forever.